My dear friends, I'll welcome you to another session with me, Girish, today. And we're going to continue with our series on self-sabotage. And the concept we're going to explore today is constant comparison. All right. So we're going to look at how comparing yourself to others actually does not help you to live to your full potential. Now, before we actually go deep into the matter, we need to understand one thing. We need to understand that each human being is born different, with different characteristics. Okay? And the fact that we are all different, logically, if you understand this, at the start you would not be comparing yourself to others, because there's actually no point comparing a rock to a tree or comparing an apple to an orange. But that's what people do most of the time. They look at what they lack in themselves when they look at others. Then there's that constant comparison, and it doesn't help at all, because we actually don't understand something fundamental, which is that we are all born different. So there's no point comparing. All right. So now that we've understood that, and we also know that people do keep comparing themselves to one another, how do we break that habit of comparing now? Because it is something that we've been doing for a long time, and it has become as if part of ourselves now. So how do we actually break that habit of comparing? The first thing we need to practice, okay, is becoming aware. So you need to become aware when you're starting to compare yourself to others in terms of thoughts, because it first comes to your mind that you're, comparing yourself to someone else. You need to become aware when it actually pops into your mind, so that it doesn't go up to the mouth. So if you're someone who verbally expresses yourself and you compare yourself to others in conversations, even before it reaches that level, you need to actually be aware when it pops into your mind itself. Because if you deal with it from the source, then it won't lead to actions. All right. So we actually need to become aware when we start comparing ourselves to others in terms of thoughts or in terms of talks. All right. So once we've become aware that we are comparing ourselves to others in conversations, and we know when we actually do that and with what kind of people we're doing it, once we establish this, we need to stop ourselves from doing that. As simple as that. So once we actually realize that we are in a conversation and comparing ourselves to others in the conversation, if we were aware of this, we stop the conversation. We don't go ahead with it. We can just change conversation. Now, if it's in your head that you've actually started to compare yourself to others and started to look at your cravings, all right? If it is in the head, then you gently shift the focus. You start to think about something else, all right? So it all depends where the comparison is happening. Is it something physical? You're talking to someone, actually comparing yourself, or is it in the mind? No matter where it is, once you're aware that it's happening, you need to stop it. All right. So stopping yourself is the second thing you need. The third thing you need to do is you actually need to count your blessings. I mean, you need to look at your own strength, because we just established that it's silly to actually compare yourself to others because you're all born different. All right. So what makes sense now? What should be the approach? The approach should be that you need to realize you're an individual having certain strengths and certain weaknesses. That's fine. We're all like that. We all suck at something and we're good at something. You need to look at your strength. All right? So instead of focusing on the things that you're not so good at, you need to focus on your strength. There's something I always teach people is you can only become average trying to improve your weaknesses. All right. If you invest all your energy on trying to improve your weaknesses, and this is what schools tell you to do, look at where you're bad and you actually work on it till you become good. If you spend too much time trying to improve your weaknesses, you're just going to become average at them. But think about that time you spend on your weaknesses, you invested in your strength now. You're actually going to become unbeatable as an individual with your own strength if you focus all that time and energy on your strength. All right? So focusing on your strength is something that needs to be done instead of comparing. All right? And next point would be you need to be okay with imperfection. I mean, no one is perfect. Each person is different. Each person has his or her strengths and weaknesses, and no one is perfect. That idea of perfection is something very silly, in fact. All right? So imperfection is, in fact, what makes you who you are. So you should be okay with your strengths and okay with your weaknesses. Obviously, you don't need to tell yourself that, I'm like this and that's the way I am. You need to accept me like this. If there are things you need to work on, for example, if you're someone who lacks patience, it's part of your personality, you need to work on it. All right? So there are always things you need to work on, but you can't keep tormenting yourself, telling yourself that, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at Y, I'm bad at Z, and you keep telling that to yourself. You need to be quite proud of your strength without being overconfident and cocky now, all right? So you should be quite proud of your strength, and you need to accept your weaknesses, and where you can tweak things, work on things, it's fine. But you're never going to excel at your weaknesses. That's the point I was trying to make. The next one is you don't knock others down. All right. Now, we've been talking about comparison where we are trying to feel inferior compared to others, but it can happen the other way around also. There are people who actually belittle and make others feel bad so that they feel important, so that they feel significant. So that's something else you should not be doing also. Because if you're always knocking others down, one day you're going to end up alone and you're going to die alone. That's how life works. If you're doing bad to others, it's going to come back to you in ways you won't even realize. So knocking down others is another way of comparing yourself to others and actually judging people and saying, I was able to do this, that person is lazy and never actually achieved something. So comparison and judgment, these are the two poisons which actually never make people grow or make them reach their full potential. So knocking others down is no way. Okay, we don't do that. And the next one is something very beautiful, which I always tell people. You need to focus on your journey. All right? So to me, comparing your life, your lifeline, your way of living, your habits, comparing that to others is a waste of time. I mean, I don't even know how people get time to actually check what others are doing and compare their lives to others. You need to keep yourself busy. Okay? You need to keep yourself busy and focus on your journey. Actually, ask yourself and question yourself, what do you want to learn in this lifetime? What do you want to create in this lifetime? What do you actually want to become in this lifetime? If you're expecting people to actually help you to be who you are, you're already lost, my friend. You need to actually know where you want to go, what are the skills you want to learn, what are the things you want to develop in you, compassion, patience, confidence, and you work on that. And you create the life you want to create. You need to actually focus on your journey, and that will make you happy, and automatically that happiness will be thrown out to the universe, and you realize that actually people will get along you and everything will improve. All right? And the last point, which I'm going to leave you with, would be you need to learn to love enough. All right? A lot of the times we think that we need a better salary, we need a better car, we need to get a better house to be happy, or we want that, that new person in our life and that will make us happy. And we're always dissatisfied because the moment you actually get, let's say, a new car, you're now expecting to get a bigger car or something else. So you always have that craving and you're never actually happy with what you have right now. So in my own case, I live a very simple life. To me, the basic things are you need to have enough food, on the table, you need to have clothes, you need to have shelter, and the most important thing for me is you need to have enough people who love you. If you have these things, like you have food, clothes, shelter, and people who actually appreciate who you are, like the true you, not the PR version of yourself which you're trying to show at your workplace or to your friends, like the real you with your imperfections, but the you who has opened his or her heart widely, okay, with all your imperfections, where you can express yourself and you can see everything, all the good things you have, and your insecurities also, you can just put it out there without the fear of judgment. If you actually live like that and you have people who love you for that, I mean, you're already winning in life. You have a great life, right? So I hope you found that interesting. It was quite passionate for me to talk about it. And I'll see you soon for another podcast. Lots of love, Girish.